What is the company line on Jasmine Crockett? The new Hillary Clinton of the radical left. Sometimes there's a big difference between the truth and your truth. If they call you a racist, that means they're the racist. The truth of the matter is Stephen A. Smith ain't going nowhere.
You know, and I would put Stephen A. Smith in that category too. Like, I'm mad at y'all for having joy. I'm mad at y'all for having success. I'm mad at y'all for surpassing us on college campuses. And so it's a small sect of men that are so angry and hurt that they're willing to align with the people who oppress us.
He's absolutely right. You can't get mad at Smith for telling the truth. Yeah, God forbid anybody hold anybody to standards. Long story short, the left's got their pitchforks out, or at least allegedly. Let me say allegedly. Not sure if that was last night. That's allegedly. Anyway, they're calling on ESPN to cancel Stephen A. Smith. Now, that's about as likely to happen as I'm about ready to have a chia pet on my head. It's not likely to happen. Anyway, they want to cancel Stephen A. Smith over his critical comments regarding the new hero of the radical left, the new mama, the new Hillary Clinton of the radical left. That would be the crazy-ass Jasmine Crockett. See, Stephen A. Smith is supposed to toe the line on Jasmine Crockett. Why? You know why, because both are African-American. And you're not allowed at all, let me move over here, you're not allowed at all, according to the radical left, to criticize anybody, to tell the truth, or to tell your truth. And sometimes there's a big difference between the truth and your truth. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is Stephen A. Smith ain't going nowhere. Stephen A. Smith has been hired and paid a lot of money to do things like he is doing, which is tell the truth regardless of your race, religion, or your sports affiliation. Here's what Smith said about Jasmine Crockett.
Let me tell you what gets me annoyed. And I hope Jasmine Crockett is listening to this. By the way, she's welcome on the show. When you go on national television and you call on the president of the United States out of his name, and you're being all disrespectful, as a representative in this country, do you believe the citizens of Texas sent you there to do that? They don't like him either. I'm talking about those who voted for her in all likelihood. But because he is who he is and he is in that position, they expect you to go to Capitol Hill and figure out a way to maneuver yourself through that terrain to work in a fashion that's going to facilitate getting things done on behalf of your constituents. That's your job. That's your job. Excuse my language on Sirius XM, but it ain't your job to say he ain't shit. He ain't worth a damn. That's not your job. Anybody can do that.
Boy, is he right. Anyone can do that. That's somewhat how I live. Anybody can just stay quiet. Anybody can not say anything. Anybody could not get in what I consider, and I'm stealing this, obviously, good trouble. I mean, anybody, anytime, anywhere, can just simply name call. Hell, I saw it 2 weeks ago. That's all anybody wanted to do, name call. Nobody asked me why I said what I said. They just wanted to call me names. This is exactly what Stephen A. Smith is saying about Jasmine Crockett. Anybody in the world can look at a statement or a tweet or a text or something on TV and just start name calling. He ain't shit. He ain't this. Okay, well, why? See, in broadcasting, they teach you to say why. Why? Not, Look, when you do a radio broadcast and you're a play-by-play guy doing, let's just say, the Indiana football game, you've got to set the scene. The analyst is supposed to say why. Well, in the world of politics, you're basically the analyst if you are hired, as Stephen A. Smith said, by your constituents to get something done. You're supposed to figure out the why. Why is this happening? How can I use it to help me? What is not happening? How can I get something done? Not sit there on TV shows and act like a complete dumbass and just simply call people names. See what I did there? I'll tell you why I think Jasmine Crockett is a dumbass, because I don't think she ever gives a solution. I think she gives absolutely no substance, and I don't respect it. You're supposed to give substance. I don't know if you've noticed what Tommy Tuberville is doing, but check him out. He's involved in a lot of stuff. He's trying Sharia law, which I don't understand. But he's trying to involve himself in things that affect our country as opposed to just sitting there and saying everybody's a dumbass. You tell me, what has Jasmine Crockett ever done to help the why? Well, of course, she's gone with the race card. Of course, in the wake of Stephen A. Smith tirade, she responded with a message on Instagram, predictably invoking the race card. I mean, that's what everybody does. Stephen A. Smith taking shots at Jasmine Crockett ain't just messy. Now, you got to understand, this woman is highly educated, but she's trying to be down to clown. Ain't just messy, it's weak. Dude is sitting on one of the biggest mics in America, and instead of using it to uplift, he's tearing down, here we go, a black woman who's out there putting in real work. That ain't critique, that's betrayal. Betrayal? I thought everybody wanted to be treated equal. What does a black woman have to do with it? I mean, I've seen Stephen A. Smith, and I say this about myself, go after white people that do the same. I've seen Stephen A. Smith criticize many, many white people. But see, Jasmine Crockett, again, there's nothing but gaslighting here. There's nothing in her substance. There is nothing substantively she's done as a member of Congress to do anything to say, look, she's sidetracked. No, she's not sidetracked. This is who she is. Every single time she is criticized, black woman, betrayal. Stephen A. Smith is not betraying anybody here. Stephen A. Smith is treating folks equally. You're a black woman. That's a gas bag. That's being disrespectful. He calls you out. You're a white dude. That's a gas bag. That's disrespectful. He calls you out. It ain't that hard. No, but I get it. The only thing you've got to go to is that. Black woman, betrayal. See, Crockett and her ilk on the radical left, want everybody to toe the line. And they want everybody to be scared to step outside of that line racially. I'm a black man. I have to defend a black woman no matter how idiotic, ridiculous, and embarrassing she is. That's not the way intelligent people think. See, I am guilty of something. I'm guilty of treating people equal. I'm guilty of seeing and then saying what I see regardless of color. And so Smith. You may like Smith, you may dislike Smith, but he's treating people with the respect that they have earned, both good and bad. You don't earn good respect. You don't earn, boy, I really respect you. You earn disrespect sometimes. And it doesn't matter if you're black or white, if you respect the other race. If I didn't respect, in my case and Smith's case, the other race, wouldn't criticize it, would be scared. If Smith didn't respect a, quote, black woman, wouldn't criticize her. He'd be scared. But he wants to uplift by holding people to standards. Wow, what a concept. That's what Smith's doing. Boy, people don't like it. Jasmine Crockett ain't the problem, says Jasmine Crockett. She's the kind of woman who walks into rooms full of snakes and makes the snakes flinch. Not really. She may think she does that. She makes the snakes laugh. Meanwhile, Stephen showed us what happens when the paycheck louder than the principal. Okay. That's sucker straight up. No, you're trying. I see what you're doing here. You're trying to capitulate to an audience. See, I don't think Jasmine Crockett respects black people. I honestly don't, because she talks down to them. She does. Look at the English. Now, this is a very educated woman. This is a lawyer, went to law school. Look at the language she uses here. No, she talks down to people. She's going to say it's keeping it real, but she talks down. This is absolute racism. Imagine a white person talking down to African Americans. This is what Crockett's doing, and it's wrong. Smith doesn't do it. Smith respects African Americans and white people enough to criticize them, to hold them to standards, to not all of a sudden talk down to them. No, that's crap. And Crockett knows it. Look, Crockett, law school, highly educated. Smith, brilliant orator, brilliant. I don't know Smith's back. All right, what did he go to Winston-Salem? Fine. But he respects people enough to criticize them, African American people enough. I get that. It's a tough place to be, but Smith's doing it, and I respect it. Here's Smith. He's doubling down, and he's firing back at his critics.
This educated, brilliant black woman representing over 750,000 people is engaging in verbiage and rhetoric for the streets. And that's fine when you're in the streets. How many of y'all bring the streets to the table when you at the negotiating table trying to get a deal done? How many of you are able to think that for a second that you're able to bring street verbiage to Capitol Hill and that's going to work for you? You literally have senators and congressional figures on Capitol Hill on the side of the Republicans telling the networks, whether it's Fox News, News Nation, or anybody else, please, please, please put her front and center on camera. Why would they do that? Because they know it wins for them.
He's not wrong. This is what I tried to tell you. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even see that clip. But he's absolutely right. You can't get mad at Smith for telling the truth. I mean, you're on Capitol Hill. You're trying to get stuff done. And what did Smith say? I'll use his quote. She's talking like on the streets. Those aren't the streets. But anyway, why is she doing that? Like, I'm supposed to tell you the why. She's doing that because she wants to ignite a base against Smith. She's trying to show that Smith is the establishment. No, that's crap. Smith is simply holding people to standards, and people can't stand it. Tiffany Cross, I guess she's an ex-MSNBC host. She lost her mind. She's calling on black men to cancel Stephen A. Smith. Now, you tell me why that would be. What is Smith doing that's so wrong? Here's Stephanie Cross. Tiffany.
When men are frustrated with this system, it feels like they fight us. You know, and I would put Stephen A. Smith in that category too. I'm mad at y'all for having joy. I'm mad at y'all for having success. I'm mad at y'all for surpassing us on college campuses. And so it's a small sect of men that are so angry and hurt that they're willing to align with the people who oppress us. What am I getting wrong? Because if you listen to Stephen A. Smith and you find anything other than some absolute pure self-hating little dick energy nonsense from that half-witted idiot basking in the non-existent rays of his own ignorance, it is sad to me that he even gets an audience of black men. Why aren't black men right now saying, F Stephen A. Smith, we banning him, we not listening to his podcast, we're not watching his show anymore? That's what black women do. We organize.
Yeah, God forbid anybody hold anybody to standards. I mean, God forbid. We must cancel them. And they always go to the dumbest of insults. What do you call it? Little dick energy. They always go to the dumbest of insults. Not just her, but everybody. Everybody on the radical left that doesn't like what you say is either gaslighting you or they're going to come with the worst insults. I got a whole phone full of them. Who cares? Truth of the matter is we need more people like Stephen A. Smith that are calling it out, that hold people to standards. Schools used to do that. Businesses used to do that. Now everybody's so scared. Good for Stephen A. Smith. Absolutely good for Stephen A. Smith. Hey, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right and get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to go to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Look, you can do this in Georgia, where they didn't have online gambling. It's fantasy. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code DAKICH. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Dakich, DAKICH, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. I'll have more picks. I'm on fire on Prize Picks. I'll have more picks coming up tomorrow as we get ready for another massive college football weekend. Arch Manning, I like. I've said before, and I'll say it again, if his last name was Dakich, he'd be at Bowling Green and probably wouldn't even be the starter at Bowling Green, but he played pretty well the other day. He has not been able to completely tune out the chatter this season. Of course not. I mean, it's almost impossible. He's tried. Remember, Arch Manning came into the 2025 season as the Heisman Trophy front runner. He was the presumed number 1 draft pick in the NFL draft. He was presumed. And when his play, was very underwhelming, he was facing the full force of the media storm. There's a couple things you're always going to see in media. One, they're going to gaslight you. Two, oh boy, when they turn on you, the same people that prop you up are going to tear you down, and they're going to do it in 5 minutes, and they can't wait to do it. That's the bigger issue. They can't wait to do it, including the harsh athletic article, I guess, amplifying by the New York Times, which went as far as to label him synonymous with failure. So dumb. All right, here is the Athletic. I call it the Atlantic. I make fun of it, and I usually call it the wrong name. Many people are having a bad year in college football, but Arch Manning is having one of the worst. The quarterback has gone from preseason Heisman Trophy favorite and projected number 1 pick to a man synonymous with failure? What? I mean, that's as silly as it gets. You could say to a middle-of-the-pack quarterback, you could say to a disappointment, but synonymous with failure? Child, please. Now, Manning has addressed the comments. And remember, however much criticism Arch Manning has received, he's stayed above the fray. He's been self-deprecating. He's been critical of himself, and that's something that I can respect. But again, going back to the Stephen A. Smith comments, he holds himself to a high standard. Here's what Arch Manning had to say on being labeled the biggest bust in college football.
I feel like I try to do my best of blocking out the noise, and then you get 100 text messages, keep blocking out the noise. Like there must be a lot of noise. So, yeah, I try my best.
Were you aware that there's someone who are calling you one of the biggest flops in college football, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I guess I do now.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I wasn't playing well, and I'm going to continue to get better. But everyone has their own opinion, and that's what's good about America. So you get to freedom of speech. So it doesn't bother me.
That reporter's a jackass. That's just my opinion on it. I mean, you bring that up to a kid. Look, the kid obviously knows, and there's a better way to word that question, but reporters are dumbasses, and there's nothing they can do about it because they're really stupid. Think about it. What'd they study in college? I studied telecommunications. I'm a dumbass. I mean, I studied telecommunications because I couldn't get through calculus. But there's a reason for that. It involves who was teaching the class. Anyway, that's 100 years ago. I love the way Arch Manning presents himself, and I love the fact that he's getting better. I don't think he's ever been the quarterback that people said. And I've said it on this show before the season started. I watched tape of him, and I didn't see the ball pop out. The ball seemed like it was still in his hand when he was throwing the ball. It does not pop like normal quarterbacks. But you know what? He's quarterbacking the University of Texas, where they have a very good team, or at least very good players. And you know what? He'll get better. They had a big win over Oklahoma. People shouldn't be that surprised. I mean, Oklahoma hasn't exactly been great. Brett Venables has been okay, better this year, but the quarterback was hurt. But Manning played well. So at the end of the day, I like when guys stay above the fray, like Manning. Porter asked that question, dumbass. All right, kid moves on. But also this, don't think for a minute that doesn't hurt him a little bit. And he made a great point. People keep saying, block out the noise. What noise? That's like, I'll never forget, our guy Dan Wolken wrote a scathing article on me. And I didn't know it. A buddy of mine says, hey, that Wolken can kiss my ass. And I started reading this article, and I started laughing. Now, right at that time, some lady came to my door and said she was going to shoot my dog. So I'm reading this article, killing me. A lady's going to say she's going to kill my dog because my dog, which all of our dogs did, ran around our yard, and she was jogging, and the dog looked at her. I got this and I got that. I said, lady, don't kill my dog. I closed it. But I'm reading an article because somebody told me there was an article. Somebody told Arch Manning, hey, don't listen to the noise. Holy crap, there must be a ton of noise. Anyway, one thing about the Mannings, they'll be just fine. And he is the JFK Jr. of college football, and maybe of football. And hopefully at some point, because I like the kid, I like the way he handles it far better than the reporters, you know what? He'll figure it out. I hope. You enjoying the show? Damn right you are. Damn right. Make sure you head on over to youtube.com/@don'tatme with Dan Dakich to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you'll never, ever, ever miss any of our great content. You want college football with a side of ice? What? Over the weekend, college football viewers, and I did notice this as well, that's why we wanted to talk about it, noticed several ice commercials. Yes, that ice. Not like polar bear ice that you get at the liquor store down there. You want the big bag, you want the small bag to fill your cooler. No, ice, the dudes that are coming in and keeping America safe. It's all part of Coach Trump, President Trump's messaging plan to residents living in sanctuary cities where governors and mayors aren't doing their job to protect citizens from illegal immigrants. The report outlines that ICE has spent $6.5 million on airing these advertisements in cities that the Trump administration deems uncooperative with the deportation initiatives. Here's an ICE excerpt from a commercial. You took an oath to protect and serve to keep your family, your city safe. But in sanctuary cities, you're ordered to stand down while dangerous illegals walk free. Here's another one. Oh, wait. As Puck's John Urlan reports, a 30-second commercial during big primetime college football games costs about $300,000. Urlan continues, because these are one-off ad buys, obviously not part of a general election, networks are charging top dollar. If it was a general election, they'd go a little bit less because they're going to get more. But in an election cycle, they charge more. All right. I know what people are going to say. Well, you got money to spend on this. But no, I get it. I do. I get every side of it. But, hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And one thing I'm going to tell you, and this will piss everybody off, but one thing I'm going to tell you is I trust Donald Trump. You may not. Well, if you're watching the show, you probably do. But I do. I trust Donald Trump. What's not to trust? If ICE is coming after illegal immigrants, I trust you. If these clowns in major sanctuary cities are going against the people's wishes and not defending their own city, not protecting their own people, I trust Donald Trump more than I trust a guy who's the mayor of Chicago, where his citizens are begging, pleading for help. Even in Indianapolis, downtown, people begging, pleading for help. I mean, what's a kid walking around with an AR or AK, whatever the hell it's called? Why? Where? Where did he get the gun? Thank God for Reverend Charles Harrison talking him down from it. But what are we doing? Shouldn't be happening. Any city, Memphis, I saw the other day, citizens are like, damn, I can finally walk to the store. Damn, I can walk my dog. What's wrong with that? I don't know. You tell me. Man, I've said before and I'll say it again and I won't stop saying it. Why are 95% of us scared of 5%? I mean, it's probably even less than 5% of the population that commits crime. I don't know, but I do know this. We're the vast, 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 vast majority. And we elected people to serve and protect. Come on, serve and protect here in Indy like you did in Memphis. Go to Chicago. Figure this out. Let's go. Got enough being held hostage. Hell, on my street, we had a number of break-ins. True story. I just moved here, but there were break-ins. So you know what everybody did? They got in their cars. They had patrols. They set up signal apps. Who's patrolling the night? Are you bringing your weapon? Guys are like, hell yeah, I'm bringing my weapon. Guess what? Haven't had any break-ins in a long, long time. None. Not some. None. It's a real problem. What is this? This is fall. Last spring. It was a real problem for a year and a half, 2 years. Now guys are in their cars. Guys are sitting out front. Guys are in their golf carts. And they're packing. Maybe that pisses you off. Good. Pisses me off more to know somebody came in my house and stole my stuff. That would piss me off more. What's wrong with you? All right. We just had Sunday night football. We had the Foots. Sunday night. Prime time. National TV. Great game. Chiefs whooped that Lion ass. And then it happened. The entire country was watching. And you decide for whatever reason, You are freaking Branch. Brian Branch. You decide you're going to go throw hands and start a brawl in front of the whole country. The hell you doing? Seriously. What are you doing? Why would you do that? Like, oh, man, he did. Shut up. Game's over. Maybe you got your ass beat. Maybe Simon Smith-Schuster, whatever the hell his name is, Julius Smith, what is it? Anyway, maybe he talked a little yak to you. Maybe he got under your skin. But on the kneel down, this dumbass comes straight for the defenseless, hands-down Chiefs player. Game's over. I'm going to go hug my wife, have a cocktail, go home, take a nap. Juju Smith-Schuster. Simon Smith-Schuster. That's like a publishing company. Anyway, this idiot starts a fight. I get it. It's an emotional game. It's violent. It's physical. You're jawing. You're competing. You've been hitting people. Clock's over, though. And you've had time to cool down because they did a couple of kneel downs. 40 seconds, kneel down, relax. 40 seconds, kneel down, relax. But this idiot decides, hey, man, I'm going to go start a fight. An apology from his head coach, Dan Campbell, and himself didn't keep Brian Branch from being suspended for a game for his role in inciting a post-game scuffle with Juju Smith-Schuster. Simon Smith-Schuster. What am I doing? The NFL announced via chief spokesman Brian McCarthy that Branch has been suspended and is expected to miss the Lions game on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Armando has a really good article. This is from Armando's article. Go to OutKick.com, and you can see Armando's article. In a letter announcing the suspension, Runyon wrote, this is John Runyon, the vice president of football operations. Your aggression non-football act was entirely unwarranted, posed a serious risk of injury, clearly violated the standards of conduct and sportsmanship expected of NFL players. Your conduct reflected poorly on the NFL, has no place in our game. Here's Dan Campbell, the coach, calling it inexcusable.
I love Brian Branch, but what he did is inexcusable, and it's not going to be accepted here. It's not what we do. It's not what we're about. I apologize to Coach Reed and the Chiefs, and and shoot. That's not okay. That's not what we do here, and it's not going to be okay. He knows it. Our team knows it, and so that's not what we do.
Well, he's right, but it is what you did. And I'm glad the league stepped in and suspended. My question is always this. My question is, would they have suspended him? Maybe they don't have to, right? See, in my world, the coach did the suspending. I wasn't worried about the league coming in. Now, I was worried a couple times about me being suspended by my league because I was completely out of my mind and insane. And you know what? What are you going to do? But the truth of the matter is simply this. Would he have suspended him? I don't know, because you're trying to win football games. Oh. Selfish player, selfish move by Branch. Something obviously precipitated it. It's not like a guy just decides to do that, because rarely, if ever, does that happen. But now he gets suspended. Now the Lions are going to be depleted in the secondary, and away you go. I don't know why this is even a story, but it is. Fran Brown's the Syracuse football coach, and I like Fran Brown. He made his team run sprints after they won a game. That's pretty good. I wasn't mad at it. But having said that, since they did beat UConn 27-20 in 2 overtimes, they walloped Colgate, beat Clemson. Since they beat Clemson and lost their quarterback, they lost to Duke 38-3 and Syracuse 31-18. And now Coach Brown, who I really like, has to discuss leaving Syracuse. This is the ripple effect. Now, getting your ass beat twice by those two teams, quarterback or not, maybe limits your ability to leave. You know, I always said when I lost 3 of my 3 best players 5 of my years at Bowling Green, I was only there 10, and 2 best players 7 of my years at Bowling Green. I always said, people say, great coaching, while you're going through a depleted team, and then at the end of the year, your record is what your record is, and you got to answer for it. Nobody gives a rat's ass whether or not you lost your quarterback like Coach Brown did, or I lost my players. Nobody cares. They just look at your record and make fun of me. Well, Brown, predictably, wasn't exactly thrilled at the topic of leaving Syracuse. It came up during a recent press conference. The head coach grew tense when Syracuse.com, Javon Edmonds, referenced a recent athletic report linking Brown to the Penn State job. The question, however, gave Brown an opportunity to calm fans' concerns and reaffirm his commitment to Syracuse.
Fran, when you first got here, you said there was no place you'd rather be than Syracuse. You sat down with the Athletic a few months ago, and they seemed to think you got a chance to leave for some bigger job or a bigger job. Do you have anything you want to say to the Syracuse families to reassure, like, this is where you want to be?
I mean, I'm working at Syracuse right now, so I don't really need to talk about that. If this wasn't where I wanted to be at right at the moment, would I be standing here at this moment? Yeah, so I'm just focused on that. I'm focused on being here. I'm locked in on coaching the players that I have here. This is where I work at. I think that's disrespectful to even bring that up and ask that. Like, what's the point asking that to make some media or me to say something opposite of it? Like, they hired me to come here and do a job to coach this team, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, he didn't answer the question. If he's going to stay at Syracuse and have no interest, he says, I have no interest. I love it here. It's not disrespectful to ask the question. It's the climate that we're in. Coaches leave all the time. Coaches leave all the time, and they get big money to go elsewhere. And frankly, Penn State is a much better football job than Syracuse. It just is. And frankly, Brown has put himself in a position to be asked those kind of questions because of the way he has gone about doing, quote, his job at Syracuse. He's done a very good job, and when you do a very good job, you're going to get asked those questions. A very quick way for coaches never to be asked those questions is don't leave. You get a Division I head coaching job, don't leave. None of you. Put it in every contract. We cannot leave unless we are fired. And give them a bigger buyout for staying. Whatever you want to do, I don't care. But obviously that's never going to happen, right? Obviously. But coaches leave all the time. And when you've done a good enough job at your school and there is a better job in your region, people are going to ask. And if a coach can't handle that, apparently Brown can't. But Brown is doing what coaches kind of should be doing. He's trying to intimidate the media. Don't ask me no more. Because I'm going to look you in the eye, be very stern with you. And what Brown did was really smart. It was. I guarantee you. Well, I don't guarantee it, but I'm betting dollars to donuts no local guys ask him that question again. Because he made that guy, Edmonds, feel like a dope. And that's a good thing. No, it really is. When you act in such a manner, others don't want to deal or be the guy on the receiving end of that. So, Brown, yeah, did he handle it right? Maybe not in civilized society or whatever you all say, but I applaud him because in the world of coaching, he handled it just fine. And again, no one's going to ask. The bad part is for Brown, if they stop asking or if they stop wondering or if you stop being in consideration, that's when it gets bad. So coaches out there, don't get all snarky when your success leads to questions about advancement. Get snarky when your lack of success leads to questions about being fired. Nothing, says National Unity, like an iconic Las Vegas strip club launching a Strippers Against Shutdown campaign in protest of the government shutting it down, of the Democrats saying, we don't want government because we're mad. Crazy Horse 3 is offering a free lap dance to unpaid and furloughed government workers. You're a government worker, you ain't being paid. Come here, baby. Come on, hop up here, baby. Destiny will give you a ride. Yeah. People must present a valid government-issued ID in order to get the offer. That's right. You can't just walk in and say, hey, I'm Double D. I ain't getting paid. Come on, baby. Let's go to the VIP room. No. You got to show proof. The only thing you don't have to show proof is voting in Illinois. You can vote in Illinois. I just had a long conversation with a voting officer in Illinois. Madness. You don't have to show an ID in Illinois, according to that guy who worked the polls. But you got to show an ID to get a lap dance in a strip joint. You make sense of that. You go ahead and do that. I can't. What are you talking about? Las Vegas has always been about taking care of people who work hard. This is from the owner of Crazy Horse 3, Nando Sastillo. Hold on. Las Vegas has always been about taking care of people who work hard, and right now, a lot of our instrumental federal employees who keep this country running are feeling the impact of politics putting paychecks on pause. We wanted to find a fun, uniquely Vegas way to show support and remind everybody that a little entertainment can go a long way, even in hard times. Yeah, Crazy Horse. Yeah, Wild Ponies. See, Crazy Horse. Anyway, here he goes. It's in our darkest times when we see people brought together. The shutdown, while not the most serious event ever, is not fun for people wanting to get paid. If you're going to drown your sorrows, the Vegas Strip, after hitting the tables for a few hours with the boys, might not be the worst idea I've ever heard. Certainly a lot less appealing options. That's our boy Hookstead. Yeah, Hooky knows. There you go, Davey. I think everybody that is unemployed should be able to walk into a strip joint and get themselves a free lap dance. Yeah, let's go, Davey. Let's go. But our checks are clearing. At least I hope they're clearing. Not a bad idea, Davey. I ain't mad at it. You?
It's one way to get your name in the lights, Dan. Talk about publicity. Hey, free lap dance, come for it. So,
yeah. But you got to show an ID. I was stunned when I was talking to this poll worker who said, yeah, nobody's got to show an ID in Illinois. Guys go all over the place. Anyway, you got to show a government ID to get a lap dance. Why not? Why not? Beats the hell out of being at the tables, but you do have to tip. And if you got no money, I don't know. The girls are going to be pissed, no? I don't know. I never had a lap dance, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Dan, where you take your budget and you're just like, what's some good things to spend it on? If I'm with you. If I'm in a situation where I'm not currently getting paid, going to the strip club isn't exactly at the top of mind.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Bobby Carpenter's next. We'll talk to Bobby, see what he's got to say. But, yeah, no. I'll be right back. I ain't going there. Not doing it. Nope. All right, the great Bobby Carpenter, you know him, you love him, you hear him, Sirius XM radio, all kinds of places. I got to ask you, I got to go back. You're a legend in the Big D. Why are people wrong about Jerry Jones? Are people right about Jerry Jones? Like, as a general manager, is this bad business? Is it time to make a move here of his own?
Here's the thing, I think the Micah Parsons stuff kind of got out of control on him, and I think he kind of lost the plot on it. And the reality is, Dan, he's always paid his guys. There has never been a guy in the prime of their career coming up on a second contract where it got sideways and the guy left. I mean, you look at, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Dez Bryant, going back to my time with DeMarcus Ware, Jason Witten, all of these guys, Tyron Smith, you could lend them off. Jerry loves paying his stars, and he loves showing everybody how big that signing bonus is, how big of a check he can write. And the thing is, Dan, I think he's used to getting it done in a little bit of an old school way where it's like a handshake, let's talk about this. And the guy kind of agrees to it. The agent kind of touches it up, and there we go. And, when you try to get your agent involved too much, I think with him, I don't know if he necessarily liked it. I don't think that he's trying to take advantage of guys, because some people have said, well, he's been doing this for so long. You're talking about a young player. I don't think he's trying to take advantage of guys. I just think Jerry's an old school guy, and that's how he's always done business. Hell, talks about how he bought the Cowboys, and if you've watched the Netflix deal, they're flipping a coin for the last $300,000, for heaven's sake. That's just the type of guy that he is.
When you say he lost the plot, did he make it too personal?
That's exactly. That's what I think happened, where when he's get the agent involved, and then, they start talking publicly, because Jerry doesn't negotiate publicly. That's not something he does. He's a backroom, old school guy. And I think there was probably room to get that done, where if you could have got Micah and his agent and Jerry all in the room, what do you guys want? We're going to make you the highest paid guy. And, maybe they knew that deal was coming with Myles Garrett, and that kind of maybe threw a wrench in some of it. But I think they still could have got it done. But this is where you see, Dan, the emotions get the better of people, and those are two proud, highly competitive individuals.
Yeah, man, but Jerry Jones has been doing bigger deals than that, or maybe not. I don't know, with the oil and the land and all the stuff that he's involved in. He's, and to let it get personal, that seems odd to me that a guy of that ilk would let it get to that. I mean, maybe it's personal for a while and then he gets the job done. You know what I mean?
That's usually how it always goes, where guys talk about this, they hem and haw. But there were some things that were said publicly that I think really burned him. And I forget what the one comment was about making a statement how we never talked or whatever, this or that. And I think there was a couple things said where I'm like, ooh, this is bad, because Jerry's not a bad businessman. You can argue maybe some of the decisions he makes with football and personnel, but he knows he could have got much more value for Micah back in March as opposed to just at the start of camp. He may have got another second-round pick in there with it. Plus, he could have used those picks in this upcoming draft as opposed to having to wait this year on a team that looks to be pretty good offensively. I like Brian Schottenheimer a lot as a coach. It seems to be heading in the right direction. They just have a hard time stopping folks.
Hey, Bobby, let's switch. Your school, my school, Ohio State, Indiana. What is the Achilles heel? What's the weakness of Ohio State? Certainly isn't a defense.
I think the one weakness, Dan, you've been around championship teams, and this is why you look. I mean, Georgia was able to do it. Bama, even in the NFL, NBA, you look across pro sports leagues. I mean, success and complacency, it leads to complacency, and you just relax. And so that's one of the things that I give Ryan Day a tremendous amount of credit for, is he's always innovating. And, Jim Knowles left, and, that relationship got a little frosty at the end. Who and brings in Matt Patricia, the guy who, there's some people that question him. I was partial to him, having played for him my last year in New England. He's an incredibly smart guy. And Ryan's always wants to bring in people that can challenge him, that will challenge the program, that will challenge what your current thinking is. And so complacency, Dan, is always it. You look at that and you see teams that should win it again, and maybe they've won it 2 years or 3 years, but it's hard the more success you have, especially with younger players, because they have a much easier time reading their headlines than maybe somebody who's done it for a while.
When staying with that, Ohio State wins last year. It is to not have complacency. Is the Michigan game, we've lost, now we got to win this. Is that like a carrot that guards against any complacency?
You hit the nail on the head right there, because I joked, like, Brian won the national championship. Like, all right, man, you get like 10 and a half months off. Come the end of November again, the pressure's going to be ratcheted up. And believe me, it's not just for him. Talking to those seniors last year, the national championship was sweet. It was vindication. They were able to stay together, lock in, and, kind of a burn the boats mentality. Let's go conquer what we have to do right now. But they didn't get a chance to ever beat Michigan. This upcoming class, they've never beat Michigan. And you have a lot of highly competitive guys who they want to win a national championship, but they also have a great relationship with their coach, and they understand what it means to them individually as part of their career and part of their success. And you're a Midwest guy. I mean, it's the biggest game in the country, and it's a game that when you're a part of it, people ask your record and they see all that, like, yeah, national championship is great, and I love it. And believe me, I would probably trade one of my 3 victories for a second national title. But it's something when you've never won it and you're as good as some of those guys are, it is something that eats at you.
Bobby, I went to the Ohio State-Indiana game last year, and I'm standing on the sideline, and I'm talking to the Big Ten commissioner, and I look up, Bobby. You guys are nuts with this Michigan thing. I look up, and it hits me right in the face. Ohio State, before last year, had won just two national championships since 1970. Now, 1970 is a long-ass time. You've beaten Michigan 50 times between now. Only 2. And people are like, yeah, I'd rather beat Michigan. Wait a second. There's only 2 teams since 70, Bobby. You guys are – I love it. It's the greatest game. I can't wait, blah, 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 blah. But you guys are nuts with that. And Urban tells me I'm full of shit. Shut up. You don't understand. Okay. All right. I don't understand. Okay. But damn.
there's something, Dan, romanticized about that. And this is what the best part is. And as we've gone to this expanded playoff, it's a little bit what's happening in basketball now. Like, hey, let's let 96 teams in. Who cares? 124. Just let everybody in. So you diminish the regular season to a point where, like, what are we even playing for? Like, let's just manage this, get better. We'll treat it all like a glorified preseason. But what's tremendous about college football is you go talk to folks when they lose these rivalry games. It may not mean as much, like, schedule-wise as far as being able to go win it still. But, my gosh, the emotional drain on this. I do radio for 2 weeks after that. And people are like, it's just some of my neighbors who went to school at Ohio State. They love it. And they're like, man, that stinks. I go, it stinks for you. I go, I've got to live this funeral. I'm in calling hours for the next 2 weeks until they play again. I'm like, it's going to be brutal. And there's going to be a chance for Fire Ryan. Like, I'm going to have to tell him, I don't know if you're getting a better coach. I'm pretty sure that you're not going to be able to. So let's just chill on this and see where it goes. But that's the beauty of it. That's why we love it. That's what separates it from the NFL. And does it make sense? No. But emotions rarely make sense.
I agree. You said it perfectly. You said it absolutely perfectly. You're right. You're 100%. You're 100% right. My wife and I, after the Michigan-Ohio State game, she coached a long time. I coached a long time. I said, think about this. Ryan Day's won like 90% of his games. He's making more money than he ever could spend. And woke up this morning after the Michigan game as probably the most miserable human being in America on that particular day. It's like, man, it's all right. Speaking of coaches, where does Penn State go? Where would you like to see Penn State go? What do you think?
Well, I know the number one guy that everybody looks at now, and this is the thing when they were talking about firing Ryan last year, like, well, find the next, up and coming coordinator. Who do you want? Who do you want that's going to be better? James Franklin did a hell of a job there. Now, maybe he didn't get them across the finish line, but he got them to the doorstep now. And to say that you're just going to get a guy that'll get you right back to the doorstep, I'll point to two examples because they're two very prominent programs that had a lot of success. But you look at the post-Texas era Mac Brown and the Florida era post-Urban Meyer. You're talking about two schools that have had a lot of success, that have a ton of resources, that have in-state talent, everything that you could ever say you need. I looked at Florida. Since Urban left, they've had 3 or 4 10-win seasons. They have not won an SEC championship. They haven't been to a playoff. Like all that stuff. Texas, they got back last year, but they look like maybe backsliding a little. And so it's not like it's just a plug and play. You look at what USC did. They got Lincoln Riley. Oh, we've got the next guy. He's supposed to be it. How's that turned out for you? So there's fit. There's opportunity. I know they're going to be exhaustive with this search. People threw out, Urban's name with this. They're calling everybody. They'll call your guy, Curt Cignetti. Now, I could argue this. Where Indiana is right now, I may take that job over taking Penn State. And people thought I was crazy. I'm like, guys, he's got it built already. He doesn't need to tear off the top layer and then build again. I mean, Penn State's done a really good job, and they're investing. But, like, Cignetti's got it going. Like, why would he want to leave right now? Indiana, this, they've got guys that'll pay. They've got money there. All you had to do was lay out a winner. And in this new Big Ten model, this new college football, you can have success with it. I would look at a guy like Matt Campbell. I know they're going to bring up Matt Rule with his ties there, obviously being an alum. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. I mean, those are two of the primary guys that I would look at. But I would try, if they're them, you've got to find someone that'll be a fit. And they want someone that's going to try to get them across the finish line, which it's not always a guarantee, Dan. So, like, those are 3 guys. Maybe they look at Fran Brown at Syracuse. Do they look to the NFL to try to lure somebody in there? But there's always a risk. Like, if you're getting an NFL assistant coach, it's building a program is a lot different than calling plays. So you've got to also have that understanding as well.
It's interesting. I was listening to Sirius XM 84 actually on a Saturday. It wasn't you. I didn't recognize the guys, and they were talking about all of the advantages that Penn State had over Indiana. And I'm thinking to myself, you guys don't really know. You hit it right there. There's two billionaires helping fund Indiana's program, Mark Cuban and his partner, Todd Wagner, who made more than Mark Cuban. Todd's from my hometown. His mother and my mother are great friends, and he made more than Cuban. He's just been a silent guy in Dallas, and now they got him going. They got more money than they got sense right now at Indiana. And all of these resources that people tell me that, and the guys were talking about on Sirius, well, there's more resources at Penn State. No, there's not. Not anymore. There was, and there's a passionate fan base and all that kind of stuff. But man, you mentioned it, Bobby, and you're 100% right. Indiana embraced the NIL era. The athletic director, the president, went and got Cuban, went and got Wagner, went and got all these millionaires around Indianapolis and nationally. And when you got a business school, like Indiana has a fairly prestigious business school, you got a lot of CEOs out there. And, hey, Bobby, let's be honest. Everybody wants to have a good football program. Basketball's great, Indiana basketball, but everybody wants to have a football program, and Indiana's no different, and now they do.
Well, with this potentially this next realignment that comes, Dan, and I try to tell people this because they talk about the basketball value, and they go, it's great, but really the value is derived from the tournament and some big brands. All of the money is driven by football. That's North Carolina. They went to get Bill Belichick because they know that you need to be valuable. The difference between Stanford and SMU 10 years ago, Stanford's in the Big Ten. They're pulling them in. You know why? Because they had Jim Harbaugh, they had Shaw, they were winning. All of a sudden you become really bad. You're not as valuable anymore with that. And so Indiana's got things lined up. And here's something else with Penn State. And James Franklin touched on it. When we get to this like coast-to-coast travel situation, they got a bus to Harrisburg to fly out. It's 2 hours away. We had to fly in there one time in Ohio State. And people go, just extend the runway in Penn State. So I did some math and I looked up how much it costs to pour concrete. Like, we're not talking about like pouring a patio. You're pouring like 2 to 3 feet of concrete. That's like $150, $200 million project. That's a state budget line item, not something you raise money for at your school. So, and it's in the middle of Pennsylvania. There's nowhere to get to it really easily. So there's some inherent advantages that you have in Indiana that I just tell people, having been to all of these places, then I took a visit there. Grew up outside of Columbus, Ohio, in a fairly rural area, 40 acres, cows, pond, four-wheelers. My dad and I drove 6 hours to Happy Valley. So my dad goes, I'm sleeping the whole way because that's what a high school kid does. He's driving me. We got off I-70. He goes, I counted 20 dead deer in the last hour. He goes, buddy, I'll come to maybe 2 of your games if you go here. He goes, well, I'm not driving here every single weekend.
You know, it's funny you say that. This is going way back. This is whenever Penn State came in. Coach Knight, I was working, assistant. He goes, come on, we're going to go talk to Coach Paterno. So he and I went over. They were playing Indiana. And this is, the game's changed. But Paterno knew that. Bobby, we went in the coach's locker room, and it was me, Coach Knight, and Joe Paterno. And I'm sitting there, right? I mean, I'm a young guy. I'm like, this is great. And Joe Paterno was saying that exact thing. He said, this is 90s. It's all different. He said, this is a bad fit for us. Our parents don't want to come see us play Indiana or Illinois. We don't need to go out here and play Michigan State. They want to see us play Boston College. They want to see us play Pittsburgh, West Virginia, North Carolina, up and down. They want to see us play close. To your point, Bobby, that is a big deal. That's and Indiana is a surprisingly good at the high end, at the upper echelon, high school football state. There are really good players, national. So I don't, to the point about Cignetti, you put all this in a basket. I just don't, I don't see him leaving, not at all. Hey, let me ask you, who's the best team? Go ahead. Also,
the one other thing you got to factor in, Curt Cignetti's 62. Like, he's already got the house pretty much built. Like, right. You're not jumping to another build where it's going to take a year or two. And by the way, Dan, you know this, he's won so much there now. If he goes 8-4, they're not going to be pissed off. They're going to be like, let's get it going next year. We're ready to move. As far as the best team in college football, I think it's Ohio State and Miami, and I think Indiana's maybe like a smidge below. And the only reason why I say that, and I watched them beat Oregon, and I think Oregon's really good, and they won at Oregon by 10 with a pick 6, which people don't realize. Like, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I think the athletes that Miami and Ohio State have are probably just a cut above. And Cignetti has done a great job because I value production. I don't value stars, which he should probably go around and give a symposium to all these coaches, especially in basketball, that want to bring in guys who are 5 stars somewhere else who haven't been good. And I'm like, they haven't been good because there's a reason why they haven't been good. Go give me the guy that's a 15-10 dude at a smaller school who wants to work and is a good teammate. But that's what he's done. And so I just worry the one thing, because it kind of happened against Ohio State last year. Ohio State blocked. There was a punt situation. They returned a punt for a touchdown. Maybe Ohio State blocked the punt. And I said, that's where the difference is. Ohio State's twos are significantly better than Indiana's twos, just because those guys, they're highly recruited dudes. They've got them coached up, and they're better physical athletes. At the top, I think they can compete. But when you start getting down into the depths of the 20 to 50th guy on the roster, that's where there's some separation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do. I'm here. Indiana's the greatest football state. We got the culture rolling, Danny Dimes, and, of course, Mendoza's going to win the Heisman. But I see what you're saying. No, I've watched a lot of Ohio State, and I agree. In fact, being at that game last year and being, on the sideline, that was pretty obvious. I mean, and now maybe Indiana's upgraded, but I totally, completely agree. Let me ask you, before I let you go, Bobby, who is the Heisman Trophy? Who's the best player in college football?
You mentioned it. I mean, I was rolling with Dante Moore before, and after watching how well Mendoza played, and this is what's amazing, even in the world of 24/7 sports and rivals and all this stuff, you have a Cuban South Florida kid who doesn't really get recruited there. He's at Cal, man. It's not like he went to USC, he went to Cal, okay? And then somehow in the portal, you're looking around like, Indiana, I'm like, listen, if Penn State wanted to bring him in, he probably would have went to Penn State. If Miami wanted to bring him in, he probably would have went back home to Miami. And I didn't realize this, and I was naive because I didn't watch a lot of Cal football last year. I'm thinking that, okay, Mendoza is a smaller guy, probably a little undersized, really good athlete, throws it pretty well, but probably not your big guy. And by the way, I know most of my Cuban friends aren't that vertically inclined. Most of them are a little shorter. So I'm thinking just stereotypes leaning in. He's probably 6 foot, maybe 6'1". Like, this guy's 6'4", 6'5". He moves well. He sees it well. And he's going to have another opportunity against Penn State on a decent stage to probably, I thought that might be the dagger for Franklin. But they're the darlings. And this as much. I'm a Heisman voter. I try to watch 12, 13 games a weekend. Mendoza has played as well as anybody. He has the moments. He's looked good. He's been consistent. He's a leader of a great team. Like, he's checking all the boxes. So unless there's some sort of meltdown between here and the end of the season, he's probably going to be on everybody's list and probably near the top.
That's interesting. I mean, who'd have thunk it, right? I mean, I've been going, like I tell people, 17 years working in Indiana. I went to every football game that I was in town for, and used to bring my kids and me and the baseball coach and let them run free in the stands. We're drinking beers, and now you can't even get a damn seat. I love it. Appreciate you, Bobby. Thank you so much for the time, my friend.
My pleasure, Dan. Thank you, sir.
There he goes, the great Bobby Carpenter. Hey, he's right. I agree with everything that he said. The ride to Penn State as opposed to living right there in Ohio State, you got to go to Ohio State. The one thing I guess we didn't talk about was Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman is a name that a lot of people are propping up for the Penn State job. I'm not leaving Notre Dame to go to Penn State unless you just don't like the weather. But, hell, I remember Urban called me about, hey, look, I got to tell you about my day. Notre Dame picked me up, showed me their campus. Florida picked me up. Where do you think? I go, I'm going to Florida. Mission standards are easier and the weather's nicer. And his wife, Shelly, she's like, yeah, man. We're going to Florida. All right, What the Hell Wednesday coming up. God, I love doing this show, even though I'm an old man.
Football's.
You know how, you buy a car, and all of a sudden it's a blue car or blue whatever, and next thing you know, everybody on the street seems like they got the same car. You ever do that? Or you work in retail, and no one's in the store, and next thing you know, somebody comes in the store, and everybody comes in the store, and next thing you know, the store's crowded. You don't even know why. It's the same thing with last week's What the Hell Wednesday. Davey propped up AI Stephen Hawking, and I'd never seen it. Now, all of a sudden, we play it, and I understand algorithms and things like that, but we play it, and Davey, I got to tell you, My feed was full of AI Stephen Hawking just getting his ass beat left and right. And I thank you for that because it gave me many hours of entertainment watching that. That was, we got nothing like that today, eh? Nothing?
No AI today, Dan. We can definitely go back to that well because I am still getting tons of the Stephen Hawking clips. So the Sora, that format, S-O-R-A, we can definitely go back to that here soon.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, we're getting a bunch. All right, it is What the Hell Wednesday. Davey and I give you the craziest ish you're going to see all over the internet. Here we go. Let's go with number one. I don't know. Are we frozen? I hope not, because that would ruin the entire segment. Oh, my God. Why'd that idiot move the table? Brum fun. Let's see that again. Watch this idiot move the table. Oh, and he thinks he's clever.
Nothing like Neil Diamond in the background to get you in the mood, Dan.
Yeah, you got to put a little bit of that in there, and everybody's happy, Davey. What do you think this is? Is this in a guy's man cave? Is this a restaurant? Where do you think this is?
It's got to be a British or an Irish pub, Dan. Hear a little bit of the accents on the guy. No, that's definitely over across the pond.
I thought for a moment it was going to be the Bills Mafia. You know, they're jumping on tables, that kind of thing. But it looks too warm, too nice, and too inside for that action. Next!
That's not a good idea!
Let me help the dead man.
Let me help the dead man.
Water!
Man, he might be dead.
Why would he need water?
The guy's yelling, it's not a good idea. And it wasn't a good idea. Nah, it wasn't a bad idea. Wouldn't you agree that's a little tamer than some of these bike mishaps that we see? It's a little tamer, no?
Oh, yeah, definitely a little tamer. I'm sure that guy was doped up on who knows what if he's actually at Burning Man for that. But, sometimes you just get a little bit of the courage not knowing where you're at. But, yeah, nothing like riding off the tail of a dinosaur to knock yourself out.
I've met two people that have been to Burning Man, two people, and I don't think either have been sober or not high, whatever you want to call that, since the 70s. Both of them. We're almost the same guy, man. Next! Oh, wow.
Get it out with their foot. There you go.
What are we going to do here?
There you got it.
All right.
Watch out. Move that tail, boy. He's going to swipe your ass. I'm telling you.
Oh, man.
No, he can't. He in the heel over there. Who's in the table?
Why do I think that the alligator wrangler always looks the same?
That's a 12-foot gator there, Dan.
Wow. What's that guy trying to do with the stick? What do you think?
I think he's
trying to get the bag over his head.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. Man, I feel bad for the gator a little bit. I feel bad for the gator. Gator got to be scared as hell, but, don't go to the McDonald's if you're a gator. Davey, I don't know, man. Would you just stand there recording thinking the gator's not coming at you? I think the other way. I would be like, I'm getting the hell out of here. This gator's coming at me. What would you think?
So, first off, I would call the authorities, the Department of Wildlife, to kind of come in and not take it among the group at the local McDonald's to try to wrangle this gator. But I will say, Dan, I don't know if you ever watched the show Swamp People back in the day. where they go out and they catch the alligators. I mean, I would love to add it to the going into the city to capture the gators. That would be a fun element to it where you're not actually in the swamp.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know, man. Shirtless guy, little back fat. I feel like that's who the gator guys are. I always feel like they look a little bit crazy. And they should be, because you're dealing with gators. Next! Man, that's freaky, though. That would be freaky. Uh-oh. Oh, this is that lady, huh? Dude. That's just sad, in my opinion, Davey. That's just sad. You got to go, you got to go about the business of taking a crane to get you out, man. That's sad. That's very, very sad.
It is, Dan.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, the fact there's in the background there, you can see there was a person like taking photos as if this is a situation where it's like this. I get it's rare. I am curious on a lighter note, like what insurance actually would allow you to have a crane and a forklift. But, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to work out after this show because I'm trending that way. I don't want to be that way. But it's just sad. We're going to move it along. That's just, you know what? That's just sad. That's sad. Nope. Next. Oh, boy. 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 Right into the concrete. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right. All right. I knew it was coming, Davey. I do. I knew it was coming. I knew that eventually, I thought maybe just once we had some spectacular ride that doesn't end up in a crash. But no. What do you think?
I mean, the wall won, 0 points for the guy. That's one of those things, like, it looks like that bike does not have brakes at all, which I don't even understand why you'd risk trying to do that if you're in this situation. But based off the countryside, it doesn't look like this is a well-off area to begin with. So, but hey, you got a camera.
No, you got a camera. Your buddy's yelling and screaming, encouraging you. You got to keep it going. And then you hit the being built, what do they call them, footers? I don't even know what they call them, but there you go. Next!
Oh, that was number 5.
That's it. That's all she wrote. I got to tell you, it never disappoints. What the hell Wednesday, the craziest stuff anybody does on the internet, absolutely 1,000% will never disappoint you, nor me, because, well, frankly, we've got a great staff here. All right. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. We got a top 20 showdown on the horizon and the verbal sparring between one of our favorites. I'm dying to get Lane Kiffin on the show, and Kirby Smart is underway. Remember, they worked together at Alabama Slamma. Seems Kiffin fired the opening shot. The exchange stemmed from an odd question posed by a reporter asking which coach burns more calories on the sideline, to which our guy, Kiffin, and he's not our guy until he comes on the show. He's not friend of the show. He's just a guy we like watching and probably should be the Penn State coach. Anyway, Kiffin takes a jab at Kirby Smart. Here it is.
Off the wall question. You and Kirby, probably some of the more demonstrative coaches on the field. Who do you think burns more calories in a game, you or him?
I don't know. That's a good question. I walked by the TV and saw his press conference today, so it don't look like he's burned too many calories.
Okay. I don't know. Hey, did you guys see the dance Kirby Smart did on the table after winning the other day? He got a little celebratory, but hey, it's kind of interesting the way coaching is going. I understand the comment was great. It was fantastic, all right? But used to be game week, coaches were in a suit and tie. Now, Lane Kiffin has got a V-neck white undershirt on, and we see Mike McDaniel and Aaron Glenn coaching in, what are they, khakis? What's going on with high fashion in the coaching world? Used to be, it's game week. We wear a suit and tie on game week. Oh, all right. Okay, game week. Yeah. Now, what? We're just in what? Weird, odd to me anyway. I don't know about you. Hey, the Patriot Awards are coming up. That's right. We're excited to announce the return of the most patriotic awards show on TV. The Fox National Patriot Awards, back and better than ever, hosted by our very own Sean Hannity, Thursday, November 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern. Live from the Tillis Center in New York City. Tickets are on sale now at foxnation.com/Patriot Awards. We had a record-setting show last year. This year is even bigger and better. Surprise guests, amazing new awards, even a special honor for the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. You won't want to miss it. Get your tickets at foxnation.com/Patriot Awards, and we hope to see you there. Should be a good night. Should be an entertaining night. Should be a fun night. We all know President Trump is an avid golfer, and he made it crystal clear that LIV, who, by the way, is spending $8.5 for every dollar it brings in, I just saw the numbers before the show, says LIV is going nowhere. Nowhere. The league has struggled to gain popularity and viewership. It is now, can you believe this? It is now in its 5th year. That's right. I said it. I meant it. It is in its 5th year. Wow. Recalling a conversation with Trump, golf broadcaster Brandel Chambly stated, one thing he said to me, he said, I know you, and I disagree on LIV. But let me tell you why LIV is going to stick around. First of all, Yasir, the gentleman who runs the PIF, the Public Investment Fund, which is billions and billions of dollars. First of all, he loves golf more than you and I do. Second off, they have $32 trillion worth of money in oil underneath that sand. I don't know what that has to do with it other than the fact that LIV got a lot of money, and if LIV wants this to go, it's going to go. And it has gone very well across the globe, but not so much here. Crowds are good. Crowds are very good. Chatham Hills, which hosted the event here in Indy, fantastic. Absolutely great. Big crowds, bad TV, big crowds. A lot of people were mad at our place here, Chatham Hills, because the course looked bad on TV. You know what? They fired their superintendent, which is sad because by all accounts, he's a good guy. But make no mistake, LIV has, but through the PIF, they have enough money to hang in there with anybody. Hey, back to our top story. If you missed it, lefties, crazy-ass lefties are mad. They're mad at Stephen A. Smith. Now, normal people aren't mad at Stephen A. Smith. Human beings that understand holding other human beings to account, to a standard, aren't mad at Stephen A. Smith. But people, human beings, that don't see that only see race, that try to gaslight us, are going the other way on Stephen A. Smith. They're ready to cancel Stephen A. Smith. Here's Stephen A. Smith's comments that they deem cancelable on Jasmine Crockett. And he ain't wrong, Stephen A. Smith. Here's his comments on Crockett that have the lefties insane.
Let me tell you what gets me annoyed. And I hope Jasmine Crockett is listening to this. And by the way, she's welcome on the show. When you go on national television and you calling the president of the United States out of his name, and you're being all disrespectful, as a representative in this country, do you believe the citizens of Texas sent you there to do that? They don't like him either. I'm talking about those who voted for her in all likelihood. But because he is who he is and he is in that position, they expect you to go to Capitol Hill and figure out a way to maneuver yourself through that terrain to work in a fashion that's going to facilitate getting things done on behalf of your constituents. That's your job. That's your job. Excuse my language on Sirius XM, but it ain't your job to say he ain't shit. He ain't worth a damn. That's not your job. Anybody can do that.
Is he wrong? No, here's Crockett firing back at him, though. Oh, wait. I got that. I don't have the audio. Crockett firing back, and I'm going to let Stephen A. Smith tell you what I said. Stephen A. Smith taking shots at Jasmine Crockett ain't just messy. It's weak. Dude is sitting on one of the biggest mics in America, and instead of using it to uplift, he's tearing down a black woman. Oh, of course. No, he's not. He respects a black woman enough to try to help her and tell her where she's effing up. Who's out here putting in real work. That ain't critique. That's betrayal. Here's what else she said. Jasmine Crockett ain't the problem. Now, this is Jasmine Crockett talking about Jasmine Crockett. She's the kind of woman that walks into a room full of snakes and makes the snakes flinch. I don't think so. She makes the snakes laugh. Meanwhile, Steven showing us what happens when the paycheck louder than the principal. That's sucker shit. Straight up. Oh, okay. I'm not going to say it. I already did. Here's Stephen A. Smith saying it.
This educated, brilliant black woman representing over 750,000 people is engaging in verbiage and rhetoric for the streets. And that's fine when you're in the streets. How many of y'all bring the streets to the table when you're at the negotiating table trying to get a deal done? How many of you are able to think that for a second that you're able to bring street verbiage to Capitol Hill and that's going to work for you? You literally have senators and congressional figures on Capitol Hill on the side of the Republicans telling the networks, whether it's Fox News, News Nation, or anybody else, please, please, please put her front and center on camera. Why would they do that? Because they know it wins for them.
Just saying. We'll be right back. The great Todd McShay joins next. Football. Great Todd McShay, nice enough to take a few minutes with us today. First, let's get this out of the way. We never questioned your evaluation of Jalen Carter. We never did. Never. We knew you were spot on. We knew you were right, damn it. And you were proven
You don't want to get
right.
the Feinbaum treatment. I get it.
That was weird. Like, why do you think Feinbaum did that? Why did he come at you personally like that on air? I worked at ESPN 10 years. That's not something you really did. Why did he do that?
I was shocked. The strange part for me was I had been on his show like 7 or 8 times that fall, you know, and dozens of times over several years. So I knew Paul, and I didn't know him well. But there were people who kind of didn't like Paul because he was different than all the other analysts there, and I kind of stayed above the fray with all of it, and I can remember going live to his set several times, and so like my biggest beef was you've got this caller calling in and questioning me, and that's fine. They have the right to. And there's only certain things I can say. In terms of, like, I had 2 sheets on Jalen Carter and incidents, whether it was in the practice field, games, all those things. So, but I can't divulge every detail because then it's basically compromising the sources. And I would never, I'm pulling for all these guys unless they give me reason to not. And so I'm trying to support. My only point in even mentioning it was this guy's the most talented player in the draft. Why do I have him falling in some mock draft in December to like 8 or 9 or something? You know, like I've got to explain that, right? Because everyone sees it. Like there's not a more talented player in this entire class. So I just said if he does start to fall, there's some stuff kind of behind the scenes and some concerns about the way he carries himself, and put the character label on there, the football character, and kind of went from there, and it took on a life of its own, and understandably. So Paul has my number. Paul's producers certainly have my number, my text, email, because they're relentless when they want you on the show.
Yeah.
So a reasonable person answers, I did see that from Todd. I'm not sure. I'm not getting the same reports from people I'm talking to. And he says, well, I've talked to everyone around college football. Like, bullshit. It kind of just was thrown on you. So you haven't had time to talk to everyone, So there was just a lot of parts to it. And then it's so simple, man. It's what decent people do is say, you know what? I'm not sure. I'm not getting those same reports. Todd's a friend of the show. Let's get him on. Let's let him kind of answer to what he's saying, to maybe some more detail, and we can see what he's hearing versus what I'm hearing, and we can have this conversation. Or at the very least, like I'm not sure I'm going to talk to Todd off the show and give him a call and check in before. But no, he just blasted me. And then he gets arrested at the combine, Jalen Carter does, turns himself in, posts bail, comes back to the combine to finish the interviews and all that. And then he goes back on one of the bigger shows and says, and kind of like doubles down on it. Like there were no character issues before. And I know Todd said that there were, and everyone thought he was a model citizen. So this is the first of it. And so now, yes, we have to look at this. But instead of being like, well, maybe Todd was on to something. So it was like a doubling down on Todd's just making this up to drive his ratings or get more attention, and not realizing, and Colin Cowherd put it well, like, yeah, maybe Todd could have given more examples and gone more into it. And maybe as it became a bigger story, he could have provided a little bit more. And I'll own that. There are certain ways to handle it without divulging sources. And I kind of did as the process went on. But the media does a great job of attacking other media members. But when they're wrong, no, it's crickets. Everyone just kind of runs away and pretends like there's nothing to see here. So that was the background.
I always thought this, and I would have thought Feinbaum would be above this, but you gained great popularity in the football world. You and Mel, great thing going on, everything, and the jealousy among others at ESPN was stunning to me, including my ex-boss, Bob Knight, who would rip me relentlessly to bosses because he wanted my job doing the Big Ten. So nothing that happens there surprises me. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's jealousy. I don't know what it is.
Well,
but
it's a competitive industry, and you take a bunch of, it just is. And so when you get chances to kind of I think that's part of it. I also think people who have risen to the level that Paul has in his niche and what he does understand their audience. And so it's a lot easier, and it makes him look a lot better if he gets, I had everyone in Athens against me, right? He then started this campaign to get everyone in the South against me. And so but by doing that, he's kind of galvanizing, and this is a place now I can come to file my complaints. And while Paul likes Alabama too much and this and that, he's got our back in the South. So let's put it this way to kind of answer your question. There's always an agenda, always with this kind of stuff.
Great way to put it. Yes, that's a great way to put it. One of the frustrating things is, and I'm going to move on, but you made a point earlier that said, I had all this information, but if I disclose it, it's going to compromise who told me, because there is information that only certain people know, right? Within an organization, within a program. Right. And if you disclose something, somebody goes, well, that came from so-and-so.
And I also, the other part, I'm protecting Jalen too. Jalen doesn't want all this stuff. You know what I mean? So while I'm pointing out that he may fall a little bit, I'm also doing my best to protect all the details of it. To start, because if I start divulging everything that's on those 2 sheets of paper that I have on notes on Jalen, when normally it's a blurb if there is something there, then I'm now assassinating his character, and that's not what I'm here for either.
No, and then people turn on you, and you don't feel good about it. Nobody feels good about reporting bad stuff. People act like we do. No, nobody feels good about that.
I do. I do 90% of what I do in this realm is protect the player versus try to tear an individual. I remember when I was 18 to 22, I wasn't perfect. I don't think any of us was perfect. And we were immature, and we were learning our ways, and we were feeling ourselves in some moments, and we were kind of testing the boundaries. And so like, I feel I sleep really well at night knowing that I protect a lot of things. Now, certain things are not defensible. But for the most part, I do the best job I possibly can and go above and beyond to protect these young men, knowing that there's a lot on their plate. There's more money and free time and fame than ever before. So let's be reasonable about what we're talking about.
Man, I appreciate you addressing that. Hey, let's go to football. Indiana, of course, is the epicenter of all things football. I live here in Indianapolis, Indiana grad.
You guys are rolling now, man.
Very this crop of quarterbacks, we love Mendoza. Simpson at Alabama's playing great. I don't know if Manning and Klubnik, where's this crop of quarterbacks? Where's this group in terms of the draft and who's playing well, the Heisman Trophy, the whole gamut?
I actually spent a lot of time the last 48 hours going back and watching tape on all of these guys. It's tomorrow on the MCSHAY show and the MCSHAY report. I'm releasing my first top 10 updated quarterback rankings for the NFL draft. It is a unique year in that coming into the year, because remember, last year's class was just okay. 2 years ago, we had a record-setting 6 quarterbacks drafted, starting with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May. 6 guys drafted in the top, 12 picks. Last year was kind of a letdown. Coming into this year, we thought, all right, we're right back there. This could be another group that we talk about for many years to come. And it never in my mind included Arch Manning. It was always 2027 for Arch. And then the struggles early in the season kind of cemented that. And it's like, okay, well, he's going to need 2 years, let him develop. But then, we came into the year and Cade Klubnik was one of the top guys. Drew Aller, in my opinion, was not, but in a lot of scouts' minds, and I've got preseason national and Blesto lists, and he's one of the top 2 quarterbacks in all of these lists. And he's faltering. And then you've got Garrett Nussmeier at LSU clearly has been dealing with, they don't want to report exactly. We've heard some reports of oblique. He's just not ripping the ball like he has in the past. It looks very different than the 2024 tape. And the list kind of goes on with all these guys that were supposed to be up here and kind of have sputtered. Lenore Sellers gets injured. And so you're wondering, is this whole group collapsing? But in the meantime, Sellers gets healthy, looks great, even though he has no supporting cast compared to the rest of these guys. Ty Simpson is a revelation. He's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he doesn't have the biggest arm, but my goodness, can he play that position? You've got Mendoza taking that next step. Still work to do, but he's absolutely you want to see the progress from Cal in 24 to IU in 25, and I'm absolutely seeing that. You've got Dante Moore, who started 5 games, kind of a disaster at UCLA in 2023. Sits back, learns, Will Stein, the quarterback whisperer, Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, and now he comes in and he's setting the world on fire. And he didn't have a great game against Indiana, but I went back and watched the tape. That was his offensive line and receivers not getting open and IU just playing damn good defense. So this class has got a lot of talent. And I'll get to kind of all the rankings tomorrow on our show. But I think it's very clear right now. I got to tease it a little bit, Dan. It's very clear to me right now, there are 4 guys that are I feel good about, okay, if they do come out, they're first-round players. And that's Dante Moore from Oregon, Sellers from South Carolina, Ty Simpson from Alabama, and Mendoza from IU, and not necessarily in that order. But those are the guys. Garrett Nussmeier can be, if he gets healthy and starts to show what we saw years before. And then there's this second tier of Carson Beck playing really well. Not expected after the year he had at Georgia last year. Klubnik is kind of hanging around, but I think he's more middle round. So there's a lot of really good quarterbacks, but the other part is Dante Moore. There's a bunch of guys who are going to finish this year with 20 or fewer starts. Moore should probably play another year at Oregon. Sellers should probably play another year at South Carolina. Mendoza can play another year, and it wouldn't be the worst idea. So 5 of the top 6 guys that I have are all eligible to come back next year. I didn't even mention John Mateer at Oklahoma. A bunch of these guys can come back next year, and I would recommend, just look at like Bo Nix. Look at Jaden Daniels. Look at Dylan Gabriel. Look at down to like Brock Purdy. Like, it used to be like 25 was the number for game experience, the old Parcells theory. Now it's like, can you get close to 40 plus starts? Because the guys who are coming, Michael Penix, coming in the league with like 40 to 63 starts, are the guys that are having a lot more success than the other guys like a Trubisky or a Mark Sanchez or Anthony Richardson, who are coming out after 13, 15 starts.
I'm going to go to Penn State. You watch these coaches. You're hiring at Penn State. Who are you thinking about?
Well, I'm thrilled that Penn State made the decision it did.
Really?
Yeah. Image, selfishness, agenda. Eventually, that kind of leadership rears its ugly head. I think James Franklin got away with it for entirely too long. I think it was, unfortunately with some coaches, it's all about them. I think there's a leadership problem at the university, if I'm being honest. I think there's a lot of stuff that's concerning. I think like if I were running it and I were Penn State, the problem is that people aren't talking about there's like approximately, I'm not here to report it, but like there's like a $700 million stadium renovation. There's debt from that. There's now $105 million or so that they've got to just to get rid of Franklin, the staff and all. So this is a program that is storied, that is blue blood, that and talking to people, and I actually have more sources at Penn State than a lot of other schools. There's a feeling like, hey, but we're Penn State. It should be Nick Saban, Urban Meyer. And it's like, no. And then we're Penn State. Like, we should be able to go get Frank Cignetti right now, if that's what we want to do. I would, and I know you don't want to hear this, I would absolutely do whatever it takes to get Frank Cignetti, knowing that he has a background, Western PA guy, all that stuff. Put a different hat on, and I'm advising Coach Cignetti, and he doesn't need anyone's advisement. I don't think he has any interest, but he would be the guy I would target above all. Okay. But I don't think that's going to happen. Now, a lot of people in Penn State think it's kind of a done deal. It's Matt Rule and the AD, Pat Kraft, vacationing in Spain with him and good friends. And he's always had that in his back pocket. Right. And I love Matt Rule, and I buy into he is one of the uniquely gifted coaches in terms of taking a program that has not or has had problems. Like Baylor, when he took over that program, we all know about the sanctions, the issues. He cleaned that thing up, man. Nebraska, disaster. Scott Frost, he was the savior. He's going to come in and fix it. Couldn't do it. Now he's got Nebraska, not rolling, but that program is building. Temple was nothing. Built Temple into winning some conference championships. So he's the right guy for that. But Penn State doesn't need necessarily that. Maybe Penn State should be looking for someone who maybe proven pedigree or kind of this young gun that is progressive and can take. So I wouldn't be a huge proponent of Matt Rule being the fit at Penn State, even though there's the history and obviously his love for the university. Why aren't we talking about a Will Stein from Oregon, even though he has no head coaching? Why aren't we talking about Brian Hartline, even though maybe he doesn't want to ever coach at Penn State because of his Ohio State ties? But someone like that might make sense. The other part is, who is potentially out there that we don't have to wait to January to get? So those are kind of a lot of the things that I think someone not in that bubble would be exploring. But I think I kind of agree with the sentiment as a lot of people that are in that program, around that program, that maybe this is just a done deal and it's Matt Rule and we're going to go through some steps and exercises, but Rule will be our coach in January.
I feel like Rule's on an audition, 5-1. The more he wins, the more Penn State will accept him. Like, Cignetti's kind of established. He can build a program to this point. Obviously, you mentioned Urban or Saban or those kind of guys. But I feel like, it's kind of what have you done for me lately? And Rule, okay, he's 5-1. He's got him into the top 25. All right, you go win 12.
But why should
whatever.
that matter?
I mean,
why should that matter?
I don't know, but
do you know what I mean?
I
feel like we're all stuck in this group think. Like, well, if he goes 9 but it's easier to sell. Get out of here. Find the right.
Do you agree with that though? Do you agree with that?
I do, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah,
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, we are. Urban Meyer doesn't need that. Saban doesn't need that. But if you're going to sell Matt Rule to the fan base, it's a hell of a lot easier to sell Matt Rule to the fan base. I'm not saying
and
it's
I think
the right
just
thing.
like their previous head coach, I think leadership there is very concerned about the image and what they have to sell and the messaging and those sorts of things. And that's no way to lead.
No, that's exactly right. And that's some. I always go back to this. Bob Knight was under 500 at Army his last year, and he goes to Indiana. Krzyzewski barely won 5. It's basketball. It's different. But if you got the right guy, you got the right guy. You know what I mean? I don't give a damn. Like selling Cignetti to Indiana, people said, well, James Madison, what the hell? And then Cignetti gets there, and you're like, wait a second. This shit's different. You know what I mean?
This is one of the best run programs in the country. Yeah, I mean, no question.
That's right. Yeah. But I do think Penn State is so involved in that kind of bullshit, and I've always felt that way, even going back when Paterno was there, we're going to form this super society or whatever the hell it was. I've always thought Penn State is always involved in that kind of bullshit. And Indiana to a degree, but Penn State, you agree with that?
I actually do. And it's kind of not even my lane with all, but let's talk about prospects and players and all that. But I've been around this thing too long. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've sat in coaches' meetings with the top coaches, the worst coaches, and everyone in between. I know what it looks like. And I've reached a point in my life where it's very clear to me what it looks like. And right now, I worry for Penn State fans, and I have a lot of friends who are Penn State fans and diehards and loyals, and I love that. I love that about the place. I love the whiteout, and I love the passion. But I feel like a bad bill of goods is kind of being sold because it's so much about how does this look? Are we going to win the press release? Let's make sure McAfee's down on the field and running. And I love Pat. But I'm just saying, let's make sure that we're finding the right people and they're celebrating what we're doing here. And a lot of the smoke and mirror, look at my right hand while the left hand is kind of doing the trick, Yep.
No, that's what I was saying. And I'm going to say this, and it's probably wrong, but I always thought it was a creepy place. It's just, I mean, I did. I did. And that was, when I did games there, I'm like, I don't know. It's always dark. Everybody, that's not right. That's wrong. But I said it, not Todd. Let's make sure that's clear. Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
It's always interesting.
I did it when I would do games there. I'm like, man, I don't know. And this is way back. Anyway, thanks to Todd McShay for coming on. Thanks to Bobby Carpenter. Indiana remains the epicenter of all things football between the college and, of course, Danny Dimes getting it done. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.